What is like the vibe check within the Ohio State program at the moment, given where they're at?
It's really weird at this point, like it feels a little different than it did 2 years ago. I'll remember this from this past year being in Ann Arbor. At one point, me and the other Big Noon guys are on the Michigan sideline towards the end of the game. And I remember there was one Michigan fan. I'm sure there was more than one, but this one, like I was with Ingram and we were both kind of like chuckling every time we heard it because it was such a constant. There was some fan who kept on screaming, "Third base day." He just kept on saying it. And there's no way, like it was on the Michigan sideline. I don't know if anybody who was actually involved in the game on the Michigan side even heard it. There's no way Ryan Day across the field heard it. But I just remember thinking, man, this narrative is so screwy because like, by the way, like Ryan Day personally is like the last guy who's like a third base guy, like in terms of like, we know, or at least most real college football fans know what his personal story was, dealing with the tragedy with his father. He's been really, really, I would say courageous and the stuff he's done about mental health and real issues that he and his family are trying to speak on. But then the other part of this is like they win against Notre Dame. It's very emotional. He calls out Lou Holtz, which was like a really peculiar moment, like because you could tell he got really, really emotional. And so you can feel like what you just said, you're like, yeah, there's something there because it's like this pressure cooker that if you're in Columbus, Ohio, which has sky high expectations, and the guy you took over for went 7-0 against Michigan and talks about it a lot, and they talk about it a lot, and that shadow hangs over Columbus in a huge way. So I think that's hard, not just for him, but I think it's hard when you have awareness to know, my family's living through this. I think you have somebody who is probably different than some football coaches who are these guys who are like obsessed with just what they're doing, as opposed to, I think, and I've never talked to Ryan Day specifically about this part of it, but have been around him before to know he's probably way more self-aware than most high-level head football coaches in college are. And I think that has to factor into it, and then you get the piece of the Michigan signal stealing investigation story where it's like, well, they were cheating and they were doing this. So that, that's going to feed into your feeling like you're getting wronged and you're getting screwed in this. It's just like, I think it's a very like complex dynamic there, right? Like Common Core's probably a really good quarterback. It wasn't CJ Stroud.
Right.
CJ Stroud's tearing up the NFL as a rookie, right? And that guy was his first year. So, and now it seems like the money people have gone, okay, not good enough for us. It's just, it's remarkable how I feel like of all the schools in the country, the expectations at Ohio State might be higher than they are even anywhere in the SEC. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe that's wrong to think it's higher than it is at Georgia and it's higher than it is to Alabama, but those places have won. Right. Kirby won 2 national titles in a row. I'm not saying they're satisfied, and I know Kirby's not, but I just think, Ryan Day's record is insanely good, but it's, they came within a last second field goal of beating Georgia and probably winning the national title. And yet for everybody, almost everybody, it seemed like there's a bitter taste in their mouth